It's very much possible, right? You can never rule out the 5 game series. I've come to learn is the reality. But with these two players, there's a bit of a different dynamic going on here, right? I mean, LucifroN historically has always been known as a very, very aggressive player, along with his brother. Maybe slightly less so than his brother Vortex, some would say, but still definitely favors and leans into that highly mechanical, aggressive based approach where you force your opponent into mistakes, you take leads, and you close games out in a timely fashion. Beasty historically has been the opposite of that, right? He is sort of the old meme that he's been very defensive in the past, right? But that has changed, I think, as he himself has mentioned. He took on a much more aggressive route recently, much more akin to LucifroN and Vortex. Only part of that, he said so himself, right? It comes from the last tournament, Vortex being his primary practice partner, right? So those styles naturally developed within that confined space of practice between them, and that might still be the case here now, right?
Well, that's the thing, they all rubbed off on each other. Beasty made Vortex more like him, Vortex made Beasty more like him, which means you technically made yourself more like LucifroN. So now we get to pose the question: is LucifroN in pitch perfect form? Can he annihilate him? Or is Beasty's consistency can it ooze through even off the back of a ridiculously long subathon? We kick off the group stage Elite Classic 3 best of 5 with Byzantines in the blue for LucifroN, and Beasty is going wholly new here with the House of Lancaster.
LucifroN, of course, recently having come back to the pro scene after a little break to focus on life instead, which is a strange thing to do, right? Why would you prioritize real life over video games? It seems like a bizarre decision to me.
What do you do with that life? Pay taxes? Psh, wow, that's great.
Ridiculous.
Like in this game, I make villagers pay me taxes. Checkmate, real life losers. We got it set here.
And a set it is indeed, as LucifroN, the Byzantines, doing what is already, in my opinion, very much different from the norm here for the Byzantines, right? We see no stone, no gold, instead a lot of wood being gathered.
That's because he knows he's getting rushed. See, this is the thing. Byzantines are technically the easiest civ to outpost rush in the game. Because unlike most civs that only need to start in gold and can do things, for Byzantines, it's the gold and then the berries as well. So that's what Beasty was leaning on, and LucifroN, already aware of it, will go into those pricey Limitane to defend himself.
Initially, I might have thought that maybe there's a tower in the works here for LucifroN onto the gold, but the thing is, it's actually so important as the opposing civ from the Byzantines, in this case Lancaster, but it depends what civ you are, of course. If you can get that tower up onto those Byzantine berries...
Oh, he's going for it.
It's such a strong position to be in, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually committing to it, but it's been scoured. So does this change the plan for BC? I imagine not 4 spears deep, but the other funky thing is, like, who would expect Limitane reaction? I mean, this is a build that I feel like we saw this as the opening for Byzantines a long time ago, and most Biz players accepted it didn't feel good because you burn through your food so quickly and are left with a unit that can then often feel dead weight in certain matchups, like against English or now Lancaster.
Exactly. And on top of it, I mean, historically, the other civ that's very prone to being tower rushed is Malians, right? And they quite often, sometimes still, even today, open with the Donzo to offset that. But a notable difference is, I mean, you don't have a spear to throw as the Limitane to kill that villager.
No, you only have the extra HP, but you pay 10 more resources for said HP. So it doesn't feel that great. And usually the thing that makes it viable a little bit is having a system.
Which...
I mean, he has got that now, right? Like, he must have one.
I think so. The stone...
Yeah, he's got, because he got the stone from the rack. So, eco's a bit better. But remember, Lancaster gathers sheep 25% faster, which kind of just beats that system buff.
Bradley. And I think the main thing here, really, for LucifroN is he's not too concerned about winning a spear war here. That's probably not going to happen, right? Especially Beasty going for the spears first. LucifroN needing the systems, the higher cost, the sheep factor, just like you mentioned. But if he can prevent the tower, then that's, I think, really all he cares about. But such a spear investment here from Beasty and good micro from both sides here. Very finely played there. Keeping all spears alive. Normally quite difficult to do in this kind of a situation. But I mean, yeah, Beasty He's doubling down on the spears, we can see, right? There's no intention for Feudal Age just yet. There's no move out onto the gold either. Beasty really, really wants this tower to go up.
Yeah, and the other awkward thing here is as the fight goes on, the exchanges happen, when you get low, that villager is going to be like having a Mongol Khan. He's your last hitter, so you have to be very delicate about your approach here as LucifroN. I wonder, do you just let it go up? Because we've seen in the past, actually, an easy solution to this for Byzantines is, because the shield wall, you can very efficiently just burn down the outpost.
I think it's an option in this case.
Beasty. Whoa, boy. Oh, what a timing there by LucifroN. Gets the kill, loses nothing for it, and an immediate cancel from Beasty.
Such a painful loss there for Beasty, and there's something you have to be so aware of in these kind of situations when you do a tower rush, because, you know, sure, theoretically, it's not something that's possible for LucifroN to do with the Limitane, right? It's like, you know, the spears, in theory, are there and protecting the villager, right? So if you misstep just a little bit, if you agree to try to deny the gold, or maybe kill some deer packs or something, this can happen. And if it's not Limitane, then it's the villagers being pulled instead to torch down the tower completely with nothing to defend it. Beasty has fallen prey to that here.
He's like, I don't want these 12 spearmen. Let's see if we can burn a landmark. Unfortunately for him, it is in range of the TC, so no value there either. Things may get a little bit tricky here. We have to remember, like, Byzantines, they do have a lot of tempered aggression in theory anyway, with things like the Lombo Javelin options on the table. Now, admittedly, that potency has been somewhat shrunk with the recent changes, with systems being very expensive. Usually this Civ's a bit more greedy. I'm wondering if LucifroN's going to try to be system light here, because obviously if you go for 5 systems, it sounds like your economy is going to be great, but then you question how many manas did your opponent get for that.
That's right, and to keep in mind, after such a great start here for LucifroN, even being supremely aggressive, I think, can be a great choice here for him. I mean, it's something we haven't really spoken too much about, but 5 villages.
Wait,
getting...
what?
Like, I had to interrupt myself, because what am I seeing right now? 5 villages being pulled by Beasty onto that front line. Baby, I said he really wants this tower, even more so than I thought.
But does he really, really, really want it? Is he going to check? He just saw the spearman walking by. LucifroN isn't looking. Oh my god, he's gonna get it up.
I mean, who expects this, right? Like,
wait, but
who expects this to happen?
Why don't we just take this a step further? There's 5 villages out here. Do we just build an archery range here? Because your opponent can't have javelins now.
Why not?
You're like that dad that wants to spoil me. Can I just have it? Why not? Can I have the extra ice cream? Why not? Can I have the keys
Whatever
to the
you
house?
want, princess, I'll get it for you. But behind this, I mean, it would make sense, I think, here for BC to play really aggressive, especially off of the back of this. Like right now, dropping a lumber camp, maybe some archery ranges. But the issue is, right, he's gathering stone. There's clearly a mana follow behind this, and the Lancaster Castle as well. Maybe with an Abbey of Kings, this could have paid a lot of food, but this could work as well. I mean, the tower is up. There'll be no berry gathering there yet, right? You'll need a system to boost the gather rate. On the right side, berries there. It'll be a while till the mercs come in. So in theory, this is kind of similar to a situation where a Civ tower rushes Malians or Byzantines, and then they go 2TC. Here you just go manas instead, right? That could in theory work, but yeah, it's a lot of commitment with those villages.
It's definitely going to hurt his economy a little bit. It's just, you know, in very close games, a villager pull like that, Myriad plus the 1 villager loss, that could just be the game over. You know, like, it's not like there's any way that you can just suddenly have 2.5 extra villagers every minute. Is that?
It does make me wonder how that would be possible.
All right, and that taste of sadness, the mining camp actually goes down. I mean, maybe if the devs create a Civ that like could legitimately just like spawn a building that could be your economy. Because like I don't know about you, I hate having to manage these villages. It's so tedious. Like, what if I didn't have to do that, Myriad? What if I could just like hit the delete key because I had these buildings instead?
There's a thought, eh?
Definitely be a unique design for an RTS.
System
sure
now
some
coming
game
up
out there will
on
do
this wood line. I have to keep an eye for that for sure. But the tower is upgraded now for Beastie as well with arrow slits, right? No fortification in yet, so quite a costly investment it would be to fortify it. Besides arrow slits, I mean 100 stone. Meanwhile, you're trying to get manas up as well, which are now climbing up in number. The third one on the way. Upgrade is now on the way as well for the mana, so that will climb to 6 relatively soon. Really, in this kind of a situation, I mean, the banners are going up, but LucifroN's getting assistance behind this as well. There's no external stone gathering yet, so it won't scale that fast.
No. What he could be looking for here in the next minute is a Cure Siphon timing as he exhausts these berries to get back to the other one.
Yeah, it's possible, right? It is going to be... We have a Jav contract chosen yet. I just missed it, actually.
I believe he went,
Yep.
yeah, Western. I like this, actually. So the thought process here is going to be a case of you being up against Yeomans, so you can outrange them, kind of outgun them on the initial trades. Maybe Javelins would have felt better, but
I think if you want to play really aggressive, Javelins would have made a lot of sense here. But if you're playing defensive as you are here as LucifroN, which I'm not sure why, to be honest. I feel like there could be a lot to be gained from being aggressive here. I mean, you must know by now that there's mana play behind this, right? Although with the blacksmith coming up and still more archers in queue, yeah, siege engineering on the way now. First upgrade, he's going to get this tower down and then maybe look to push across as well. We'll have to see.
a little bit of harassment in the gold. We'll slow down this from the gathering there. Because I think what he wants here is a clean timing his Steel Arrow under mesh as well for a push. Because I don't know if you just want to camp here per se. Like, I feel if he was going to camp here, he would have tried to play over to the mining camp on the stone by now.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like, if you wanted to scale these systems, you need to go out to that stone gathering very early to get the number up fast. That's not the case here, so Ram, as respect to the Kaido Siphon, will take down the tower, and really, I'm wondering, would there be a push across the map here from LucifroN, which I feel like there should be with such a heavy unit investment, right? Beasty now. 7 manas.
Yeah, he's not chilling on this. I mean, for good reason. LucifroN hasn't posed an aggro point on his side of the map. So until he does, he's just going to keep greeting. I mean, why not, right? Like, if you could just reach into a cash register and pull some money out and no one would punish you for it, would you reach in again?
I will go no comment for that one, for legal cases.
Definitely never happened.
However, definitely not, no, it's not, yeah. And moving on, of course. So we have the Kaido Siphon torching down the tower with the 5 spears inside. Now these will be going down, and Beasty does not have much behind this besides a lot of income. Now he will need to use that income because I think when this army moves across, he's in for a tough spot.
Yeah,
Scout.
I kind of feel the Demi-Lancers now, LucifroN's not going to get to attack. There's 9 of them. Well, welcome to Mana Life. We had homes for all of them.
The nobles are in, so they will do a good job of distracting LucifroN's army initially at least, but question now for Beasty, right? Do you invest into Unity? And I think you will, right? Like with the double broadaxe forestry as well, he knows he can't just rush castle here. That would be a bit of a death sentence, and rightly so.
And the problem I see here is you've built your Kira Siphon in your base, and now you're wheeling it all the way across the map. It's not exactly a quick attack point. Beasty, oh my dear.
Yep. 4 and 5 on the way.
So think about this, Murad. You know, we talk about how OP Levy the Shire is, where you get all the yeomen, but you had to be castle age for that. So what if you just had Levy the Shire at home because you had all the archer ranges?
Yep. I mean, with 9 manas, I mean, who even needs that much gold on a food and gold and on a food and wood costing unit? We can just get it here in a futilage, like you said. And this will deal very well with everything LucifroN has, right? I mean, historically, Lombo's obviously one of the best archers in the game, but they do have some weaknesses, namely their mobility. So, and I mean, regular archers do as well against yeomen, for that matter, as is the case here. But another 2 Kaido Siphons dropping. LucifroN's heavily committing here, right? And he realistically has to.
In the meantime, get into the base on the gold line. LucifroN reacts quickly, but still ends up hemorrhaging there before he could behind. Housing a good target, by the way. If he's trying to go for like... Oh, wait. I just realized. Any other Civ, Housing would be a great target against mass yeomaning. But remember, those manas are also houses.
Exactly right. And I mean, with this count of Yeoman, we already saw that first Siphon is already at 33% health just from arrow fire KP. Well, close to at least. So as these Yeomen scale, they'll be able to deal with those Siphon, just like Zuganu would be able to.
It's ridiculous. Like, remember, Siphons just have less health than standard Rams. The trade-off being less clunky to use, decent DPS burst. He's going to move in the manas now. Beasty will have to migrate that tree line. Will barrelless, only just kicked in. But honestly, at this stage, we're close to the point where LucifroN just doesn't have the range firepower to contest. Demi Lancers, oh my god, the idol on that. A dive underneath the TC. LucifroN, he doesn't realize he's sent them back to work, so the Demi Lancers can keep attacking here. The assault has failed him. House of Lancaster still stands.
That raid was so pivotal for BC. Then the idle time on the villagers forced him to go back. And meanwhile, while LucifroN's dealing with that, he was distracted on the front as well. The Yeomen move in and start taking shots. And now the range mass for Beasty is double that of LucifroN. And this attack is doomed to fail.
I mean, this feels over. At this stage, Beasty could go castle and go for King's College. There's no pressure left. LucifroN has nothing left in the barrel to fire. Unfortunately, he has just been Lancastered.
Lancastered indeed, as the Yeomen now going to run up towards, feeling confident enough to push across the map. And really, why wouldn't they? I mean, there's stables being prepped behind this for LucifroN, but really, what else do you really have left in this game for you? Up against 9 mana Lancaster, you're able to take 1, maybe 2 down, if I saw, but 100% 1. I think that was it.
It didn't matter for the value lost. It just, and this is the thing in the manas. I mean, you know, whether you think it's balanced or not, or the details around it balanced or not, it's tricky to play against. It usually forces your hand, and more often than not, this is the outcome you see. It just feels like an element that needs to be Lancastrated about that Civ. It's just so strong.
Absolutely. And it's always tough to tell, right? Are they adding more manas? Are they adding another TC? Are they going castle? Are they actually upgrading the manas to add more? It's such a difficult thing to gauge. So very often,
this happens.
This is the result.
Yeah, GG gets called. Beasty off to an early lead. Oh, it's a tricky one as well. Like, when we talk about those manas, I mean, think about it this way. So, you know, because I've been very vocal on this. I think, like, the Yeoman nerfs weren't really needed to the extreme they were done, by the way. I think, like, even though we saw them dominate there, they may be slightly over-nerfed. The cause is the manas. It's always been the cause. The Lancaster Castle, the manas, it all just formulates into this blur. And then the Demi-Lancers on top. At, like, the core of it, the problem you've got is back when we used to have the 2TC meta. Myriad, if I opened a 2TC, what did you do?
I'd kill you. Or try to, at least.
That's why you didn't win the SDO tournaments. I'm sorry. The correct answer is you build a TC as well. Do you remember those days? It was quite boring. Like, oh, he's going to TC.
You mean those days?
Yeah, those, the 2TC meta. You remember those days? Now you remember. They're like, so that was the answer. And it's a boring answer, but at least you had a clear answer. The problem is, when someone builds manas, you don't have manas. I'm sorry, it's an English thing. Like, we're just very good at them. But that, I think, is at its core, the issue is the House of Lancaster makes what should be a punishable build unpunishable. And I think really more than even the manas, it's the Lancaster Castle that does that. It just makes them undivable. It takes so much effort to do so.
It really does. It's just a powerhouse of a defense at the same time as being a powerhouse of an economy. As we mentioned, it's very difficult to gauge the level of commitment to manas as opposed to units, as opposed to a castle age. It makes it so tough to scout as well because of the mana placement sometimes as well. You risk, like, if you linger too long in one spot with the scout will die. Whether it's balanced or not, you know, that's a very different argument and a tough one to determine for sure.
I'll put the final nail in and throw out the final comment on it, which is, regardless of whether you think it's balanced or not, it is not fun. It is anti-fun to engage with, but this map is pure fun, baby. Enlightened Horizon for game number 2. LucifroN with the Ottoman pick in the blue. Beasty with his trusted Knights Templar. I think Beasty, since the expansion, maybe has more time on this Civ than any other one.
Absolutely. And we see the standard opening here on Enlightened Horizons. This merchant camp at the beginning takes a very long time to capture, but it is worth a whole villager once it is captured in terms of passive income. and building the barracks there for both players. Dark Age shenanigans have become a staple on this map, of course. The wolf dens providing...
Beasty.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, that was a little bit awkward on the timing there. I thought he was actually going to miss out on a villager because he was housed. He done this different, by the way. Now, this is unique to Knights Templar. Because they can chop the tree and stay here, they can capture with the villager, whereas most civs are doing what LucifroN does. And Ottomans are super efficient on this map because of how cheap the racks is. It lets you build racks, build house straight away, and get that merchant camp quicker than almost any other civ.
Exactly right. And, I mean, this is the kind of map, I think, where you really feel the tiny nerf that Knights Templars got in terms of wood. It seems very minor, but when doing this kind of a Dark Age opening, because they do start with 50 less wood than most civilizations, at only 100, it can definitely be felt like this, as that wood comes in a bit slower than you would expect. You have to be quite careful when you're opening to not get housed, to not miss out on a villager, not miss out on spear production, or you risk falling behind.
And looks like we have a very neutral opening. Quite often this turns into a bloodbath immediately with the spearmen on each side. A little bit interesting that LucifroN didn't try to force that. He instead just went double spear into fast feudal. A lot quicker than Beasty, in fact.
I really, really like this, actually. I think it makes so much sense. I mean, what really do you have to gain from pushing across the map with those spears, right? Sure, if you blob like an excessively higher amount than your opponent, you might get that merchant camp, torch the barracks, and maybe a house as well if you're lucky. But ultimately, getting that age up way earlier, and yeah, it's always a gamble doing so, even if you do maybe have the Imam or the Mekhdef to call in later. Why not just get up to the age earlier, get those boosted berries, and start pumping out units to form a real army that can contest?
Yeah, and it's like the reality check is Knights Templar are an archer civ. At the heart of it, they produce archers better than they produce anything else. So do you really want more spears walking around? I mean, you could argue there's going to be Chevalier Corfer, but the reality check is Sipahi are actually a pretty good matchup against those French cav.
Exactly right. So LucifroN not giving Beasty a reason to lean into that archer priority that we have seen Knights Templar become very, very good at, and it makes so much sense with the way the wood economy works. LucifroN finding the barracks, he's going to start torching it down, but can't stay here for too long, right? Beasty has 3 spears over his 2, a fourth one in production now as well. Yeah, Kingdom of France on the way in now, and I think you do need it here as Templars, especially in this matchup. You have to be able to fight Feudal Age, and I think without the Confrere, you don't have too much of an option otherwise to contest those Sipahi and the Mekhdef buff.
Yeah, I think it's a combo of the unit you get, but also the bonus. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but it feels like most of Knights Templar's tech choices are made more based on the bonus than the unit they get.
It's true. Like, well, I'm not sure if it's true in all cases, but that is something I theorized like very early on in the season, right? Like, I do think Knights Templar is actually one of the most complex civilizations in the game, because finding the right decision making in terms of when you prioritize what commandery and whether it is for the bonus or for the units, and then actually getting maximum utilization from that, I think it's still something that will take us all a fair while longer to figure out to its full efficiency and optimal effectiveness. So it will be a while, I think.
Yeah. It's just obviously in the first stage, I mean, the French just give you so much tempo. They give you the faster production. It's basically a military academy early, in a way. And then the Knights themselves aren't too bad. I say the best way to think of Knights is more like a premium horseman than a knight itself with the Chevalier Confrère. Because they are comparative to the cost of Sipahi. Just a bit more jack of all tradey.
And it's easy to forget with them, right? Is that sure, in isolation, they're not nearly as good as a knight, right? As a Rus knight or a French royal knight, nowhere near. But that scalability in numbers, in terms of their health, that really does add up. And the fact that they're so cheap means that you can mass them quite easily. So if you do get enough of them, and you get rewarded for massing them, then it can work out in your favor. As this one spear... Oh,
it's okay, guys.
Life.
He's not dead. He's just sleeping. Shh, no, it's okay. But I just realized I'm going to have to go through this eventually with my child. Why isn't he moving?
That'll be a tough one.
I never thought about this as a dad. Eventually, I'm going to have to explain life and death. I guess I'll just buy her a hamster. That seems to be the cheat sheet for parenting. But yeah,
Yeah, or a goldfish, I guess.
yeah, even quicker. Less maintenance. But it's kind of interesting that LucifroN didn't use those 2 spears to go for the shove-in instead of he went for the harass. I mean, he did force more spears committed by Beasty, so maybe that was worth in his eyes, considering like Ottomans, you always want to be going Sipahi Archer here.
And I must say, this is a very unusual spawn here for the deer on this map. I think normally they're a bit further out, right? But here, right projected, both of the second deer packs in the center, so I think we will see quite a bit of a bloodbath forming there towards the center of the map between the two hills. Also, going straight away for the tri-comp.
Okay, I've noticed this more and more recently with the Pilgrims. Like, they just can't make up their mind. Sometimes they go further north on their pathing, and sometimes they do this.
Yeah, there's some interesting pathing calculations that the wonderful cow has told me about that lead to this kind of curious decision-making, let's call it, by pilgrims and traders and such. But Tricom coming in from Beasty, LucifroN as well.
Okay, this is ballsy. This timing is very dangerous. I think he maybe misread it. Beasty, he sees the opportunity, strikes down one the Imam straight away. Healing Aura is not going to be sustainable anymore. That's a big loss for LucifroN in the engagement. And he goes for the second, almost kills him as well. All right, I thought we were going to get a back and forth series, but right now, this is looking Beasty dominant. He will at least have the supply left over, but the loss of the AoE heal reliably in the fight is huge, because with only one Imam, you can't send them in anymore.
It's absolutely massive, right? And although the Sipahi are very, very strong, the extra armor on the Chevalier Confrere is going to pay real big dividends in these fights, which ultimately I think does mean that the Knights Templar do, I think, overall have a stronger feudal army. Now, maybe the Mechter can turn that around once it comes into the play, but it will be a little while for that one. And now with the Imams there, like you mentioned, that's so much value down the drain here for LucifroN.
It's almost like Beasty prioritized the Archer Ball to ruin this timing. Because, like, logically, you'd maybe expect a bit more Chevalier, maybe a little bit slow on the Archers, maybe even go double Pilgrim. And that buys enough time for LucifroN to get the meta and the Imam. That's a different ball game you're playing. But this timing by Beasty seems to have unraveled the plan. And, you know, I got to say, I think Ottomans, the first 10 minutes, they've probably become the most technical Civ in the game because of this Imam meta timing in fights. But it also is one of the easiest to slip up on and feel like you've immediately lost the game because of it.
Exactly right. And a slip-up is what occurred there for LucifroN. Now, it's tough to move across the map, especially against Sipahi, so Beasty's going to play it safe. He's going to relinquish himself to the deer, get a few more units out, maybe look for a castle timing somewhat, although it's typically the Ottomans that want to go castle here. There's much to be gained from the Knights Templars just sitting in feudal age, getting so much value from the Kingdom of France commandery, right? So much gold discount on the Chevalier Confrere. And as the numbers build up, it'll work out really, really well for them. But LucifroN has reinvested as well. He's going to look to make another play across the map.
Yeah, supply count is not crazy right now, though. It's not that GG moment where you just find the food and snipe out 10 workers. So the time being, he's going to look to just actually circle towards the Pilgrims, shut down that gold trickle. Really important in this map as well, Chevalier Confrere is going to burn through your gold, and you do only have those baby veins in your base.
Once those baby veins do run out, the game becomes much more dangerous. Still only on tier 1 Pilgrim for now, Beasty. Not willing to greed for any more. Rightfully so, I think. I mean, 1 is pretty good value, I think. If it slips across even twice, then it already paid for itself.
Yeah,
the second
I think
one's harder to justify.
the Archers, like, you need to make sure you're kind of leaning a bit more hard on Archers because of how much more easily they should die. Because, like, the weird thing about bulking Chevalier Confrere is it feels good because of all the, you know, extra health you get. But what's interesting is when you get in the fight, it's the double melee armor from the meta that gives a weird little edge. All of a sudden, these Sipahi have as much armor as the Knights, but are cheaper.
Exactly right. But now, the block here from LucifroN, looking a bit scarier than before, right? The Imam's still in there, giving a little bit of value, and now with the mech there, it might be what actually turns this fight in his favor, as Steel Darrow now finishing for LucifroN as well, so the time to fight is now if he does look for it. They are even in upgrades at this point in time.
Those Pilgrims are still griefing.
They just won't stop pilgriming.
Yeah, like, why can't they just pilgrim elsewhere?
The spears are getting focused out.
Yeah, but the Chevalier just charged back in. I don't think there's enough supply to hold those Chevalier back, though. Despite the meta, Beasty should be able to shove him away again.
Yeah, the Confrere just doing so much work here, right? Even in these small counts. At the end of the day, you still have so much more armor and stats to lean on, even than a Sepahi, even though the cost is quite comparable. At the end of the day, it is a knight against a horseman, even so.
Okay, that's better. That's what I was waiting for. So, like, it feels weird to do because you're basically giving access to your archers, but the best thing to do with the Chevalier is ignore them. Sepahi dish out more damage if you go for that back line, but he done it way too late there. Felt too threatened, and Beasty cannot be stopped. New Civs OP question mark? Look, I'm not the head developer, I'm not a statistician, but that is 2 games played, 2 new Civs used, and 2 wins. So what are you waiting for? Pay to win DLC. Buy it.
You heard it here first, folks. Get the DLC and you will win as well against LucifroN in Deity Classic 3.
Whoa. You have to disclose, like, this is not... do not sue me, false advertising. Careful.
Yeah, please do not sue me. I cannot guarantee you will beat LucifroN in Deity Classic 3. But I can guarantee you'll have fun.
So the way you do it is you go like this. You go, look, I'm not saying you will beat LucifroN if you use the new DLCs. But Beasty just done it twice and won twice. So why haven't you bought Knights of Crosses and Roses?
Exactly right. Couldn't have showed it better myself.
Oh, this is getting a bit worrisome, though. I mean, Ottoman's usually a very, very powerful civ on that map. But all of a sudden, Beasty, looking like he could plow through this, I believe that is going to end up being... Is that a Jean pick for Beasty on Frisian? Oy.
Yeah, very much is. Up against the Mongols, which is interesting, right? Previously, Mongols have been what was known as the most oppressive Frisian marshes civ. Now some trade nerfs since then, some other tweaks here and there. The stone gathering from the Uvu as well has been cut down. These little things have really added up to work against them in the long run. They are still a very, very potent pick there, especially with the Silver Tree. And now with Mangudai becoming more prominent, they could also be a great choice on that map. But up against a civ like JD, definitely have to be very careful with any trading shenanigans.
It's also like it's a double-edged sword, not just for the trade, the Mangudai idea as well. It's like everything just is an XP farm in that type of format. So it's very much a aggressively aligned matchup. Whoever starts to lead that element of gameplay tends to come out victor like 90% of the time on Frisian. And yeah, confirmation, it was the Jean pick for BC. So also, this is an interesting matchup if you can play Keshiks for Mongols. If you can get the trade going, Jean hates that. So mass Keshiks can be a solution. I'm just worried the trade is going to get intercepted straight away.
Yeah, it's worrisome if you just... That's the tough part if you just go for the Silver Tree straight away. It instantly means that you're going to trade, right? And even if you don't, I mean, we have seen Mr. in particular in the past do some fake-out shenanigans. He would often go Silver Tree when he has zero intention of trading, and vice versa with Deer Stones. But it's always tough, because if you miss out on the Deer Stones bonus, you miss out on a lot of mobility, which is nice to have against Knights, and JD in particular, of course. So... even Deer Stones into trade is a possibility here, but I think it's tough for the Mongols to win in this matchup if they're on even footing with JD, or French for that matter, right?
Well, let's see if it's going to be equal footing or behind. We hop in for game number 3. Beasty, a flawless set so far. LucifroN is going to have to dig deep and dig fast if he wants to remain competitive here up against Beasty, who is desperate to extend that lead in the group stage, because when we looked at the start of the day, actually B had the top spot.
And in this game, LucifroN, decent little spawn here as the Mongols are very, very safe Uvu, and the gold is on the flank instead of the front as well. So it's not like it'll be 2 screens away from his TC, as it sometimes can be.
It does feel like a coin flip sometimes. Other things going to matter is, of course, gold location. I'd say for both players. I think sometimes Jean can actually do these cheeky little outpost rushes, even against Mongols. Looks like gold spawn-wise, Beasty didn't get that true jackpot where there's a gold where his stone outcropping is. Curious to see if LucifroN tries to exploit that at all, because he has ran across the map and he has scouted it.
Yes, I was wondering if there would be any spear shenanigans here from JD, which is something that's very, very possible. Specifically leading into that tower rush, like you mentioned. Definitely harder against the Mongols and other civs. They're still... I would say they're still probably the kings of the Dark Age, really. I mean, the double production is so potent in massing up those spears. You save an immense amount of res, allowing you to still get a competitive age up. They might not have the best spears in the feudal age, but they can have the best spear production economy in the game because of that stone. And space is going to be the name of the game here, as the two are already out on the field making their way across the map. I'm not sure if we see a villager yet. Oh, I think there might be one, actually.
Looming through the forest. Yep, oh. And I think timing-wise, that might not have actually been spotted by Beasty. Well, I mean, it's now looking quite obvious. It's like, So
yeah, it's an interesting detail. Normally that villager is behind the first two spears, but he sent them out very early instead here, right?
Yeah, so, and look at what Beasty's done. He's like, I don't care. I'm just going to gather the gold required for Skull Cavalry and an initial knight. Probably not going to be Chamber of Commercing if an outpost is going to go up here, because you just wouldn't be able to trade. Technically, you could diagonally trade, but feels risky against an aggressive civ.
Completely. And now I wonder, is this enough gold for... Well, it's actually a lot of gold that he's got. He's even got wheelbarrow. Beasty might have an immense amount of gold.
Ton of gold. Like,
yeah.
What?
So this will be enough gold for a knight and for pro scouts as well.
Hear me out. It also has enough gold to get all my eco-techs in trade.
That's true. That's still a possibility. Especially because actually it's not quite enough for pro scouts, right? So, I mean, Cock could... the Chamber of Commerce could very well be on the cards here.
I'm that evil little thing on your shoulder, but there we go. It's going to be Sanity that wins out. Skull Cavalry, to be expected. It's just like, the problem is the outpost placement. You'd have to diagonally trade, and that puts you towards the enemy base. And even though there's more gold, like, you only really see diagonal trade when you have map control. And with the way this is opened up, it's designed in a way that BC is not meant to have that control.
6 spears already on the field here for LucifroN, right? So normally we see them only 2 double produced batches and a single spear to fully garrison that tower. The 6 extra here might be accounting for some kind of deer shenanigans maybe. And with only 4 in the tower, that might be the case. 2 spears to help shove alongside the Khan. Might look to bring in that deer pack, or maybe disturb Beasty's own deer packs in turn.
I wonder, what's LucifroN's opening going to be here himself? I mean, it has to be Silver Tree, right? Against Jean, any other Civ, you just think Silver Tree straight away. I think Jean is the one Civ that you feel truly reluctant with.
It's tough, right? Because she thrives so much on fighting that forcing people to come to you with trade is normally a good thing. But yeah, like you said, against Jean, who really enjoys fighting the feudal age, that's a bit scarier than normal. However, I do still like the Silver Tree choice here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they will still be fighting on your side of the map. You should have a numbers advantage. And the Mongols can have, they have decent tools to snipe out Jean. I mean, Keshiks are trade pretty effectively against knights, even in the feudal age, as long as you can get value from that healing. And the depending which form Jean goes, in the melee form, she doesn't do very much damage to Keshiks, and in the ranged form, she's very, very vulnerable to them. But even in melee, that's the case, so... Trade definitely on the cards.
I mean, you can have the double pump as well, an issue with Keshiks, which I quite like against the knights. Usually you can outnumber them. But BC, he's being very clear in his timing here. He wants to turn it into a night flood. We actually have second stables already being added in, which is ambitious considering he now has to go out to the gold on the north side. What?
Yeah, pretty interesting choice here for sure, right? I mean, I was wondering if he's looking for timing here with these knights and Jean to push off of the gold, but yeah, adding second stable in so prematurely, once you can't produce any more knights. Maybe a tower would have been a slightly better priority on that gold, as he makes the villager migration now towards that center gold, and this will need to be secured, right?
I mean, the outposts are going to slow him down time. Maybe he can get away without outpost in a rush because he has Jean melee, but because it will like be Keshix or Magadai, you know you'll need static defenses, especially with how close to the Stealth Forest that gold vein is. Now, though, what if we just walked across the map and killed all your harmless, unarmed traders?
Exactly. Trader production, I think, has not started just yet, if I'm not mistaken, but that gold mine could still be a target, though LucifroN has a good number of space sitting there already, so not much damage to be gained.
That's different. Horseman from LucifroN.
Interesting.
Didn't have that on my bingo card today, especially against Jean. Means you technically don't have anything that truly threatens Jean in the fight.
That's the issue here, right? I mean, sure, they're cheaper than Keshix, much easier to blob, and in a way more cost-effective against archers as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, like you mentioned, no real answer to melee Jean, so a lot of value can be gained from some good Holy Wrath initiations.
I guess you will get the grab as the thought here. If you blob Horseman, you can stop a retreat, spin and clean up. But yeah, it feels very flimsy. Like when you have Keshix on the menu and the Silver Tree as well. And now we do have the traders starting to get added in by LucifroN. So it's weird to me because you could say it's a bait or it's a misclick, but he did get the Feudal Age upgrade. So there was some intent here.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if part of him was expecting an early archery range as well, instead of that second stable by Beasty. And I mean, now this double stable play gained even more value, right? Because theoretically, pure knights against pure spears, not good of course, but if your opponent expects archers and they start investing into horsemen, then suddenly the spear count is lower than it otherwise would be, right? So...
Speaking of spears, LucifroN's going a little bit crazy with that. I'm wondering if Beasty maybe starts layering a few archers. I mean, I guess it's possible you just stick knights because presumably your opponent is going to start lobbing Keshix. It is trade after all.
Exactly, and the first Keshik is in production now, so LucifroN, I think, after seeing so many knights and yeah, no archer range at all, he realizes that maybe there's not going to be any kind of archer threat. So the knights in combination with the spears should do pretty well against the Keshiks in combination with the spears. Should do well against the knights. And Jean, oh, she gets trapped.
Uh-oh. Has been caught. Has got the Divine Restoration to use here and the cleave, and it just doesn't even matter. Are you kidding me? That was outrageous. It's been so long that he stacked up 3 cleaves.
All the spears melt there, and the destruction value tells no lies. 10 times more for Beasty here in game number 3. And LucifroN, I mean, suddenly the spear count has been completely reset, right? Again, he's forced to blob from scratch against these knights. And it happens so often. You're building the counter unit, right? But ultimately, these are stronger than normal knights. And they have JD, which can really, really shave those health bars to the point where that knights can actually finish them off. And that XP starts mounting up out of control very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's full. You seem to have made a mistake. You think that I'm stuck in here with you. I mean, you gotta be so careful with Jean for that reason. The Spearman, yeah, if there's one Keshik backing him up there, different game you're looking at here. Jean might still die on the exit, but pretty good looking XP bar for 10 minutes in the game.
Absolutely. Now, John may eventually go down here. If there's I was gonna say, if there's a bit more of a Keshik backup coming, then that might be the case, but only now has another Keshik been added into the queue, so I'm pretty sure John gets away here scot-free.
Yeah, it was really nicely played. He had the scout with the knights, so he had vision into the stealth forest, and LucifroN didn't, so exploit that fact with the Khan being dead. So just gets that turnaround strike with no brace in time. And we just have got more and more night pump. We know where this is trending. It's pretty obvious. We've seen this time and time again. Royal Institute is going to look way too delectable to pass up on this map.
And it feels so good doing this as John in quite a lot of matchups, right? More so than French, John is able to do this because unlike French, you get the discount on your stables, archery range, and even barracks if you like, in the feudal age, right? Due to that consecration ability. So no need to get a keep, no need to go castle age. So theoretically, you can keep massing these strong, cheap knights for as long as you want.
I think Beasty, is he almost out of food? Because it seems to be about the berries. I wonder if he would pro scouts this late.
It feels a bit strange to add it, because the thing is with pro scouts, right, theoretically, it's worth it if you can get at least like 3 deer packs. I mean, obviously resource-wise it pays for itself just off of 1 single deer pack. But the investment in scouts and time, you really want to get a profit from it. So if at the end of the day, you only got your 2 safe deer packs, which you would normally get anyway, especially later on, it's pretty tough to justify.
Yeah, I think like in this situation, you shouldn't be worried about it. If your opponent had mass Keshiks, I'd be like, okay, yeah, pro scouts for just a deer pack or 2 makes sense, because otherwise, let's say you go 2 deer packs, you're going to need 2 outposts on each plus the mill. So that ends up being 250 wood per. So it's kind of already worth it there, right? But this is a Keshikless boy. LucifroN only just spawned a new 2. He is so far behind the heavy cavalry that, like, in theory, mill drops into deer and fishing is quite feasible here for Beasty.
Absolutely. Even the threat of raiding is just not really there with only 2 Keshiks, like you mentioned. And the knight count, I mean, it's keeping pretty in line with the spearmen here. Because earlier on when I looked as well, LucifroN was only ahead 8 spears for the knights. Beasty content to just keep making the unit that is in fact counted, which he can definitely do. I mean, ultimately, they are just cheaper than normal knights, and with JD backing them up, once level 3 comes in, which is inching ever closer now, 75% of the way there already,
JD.
and after this engagement... Ooh.
Okay, like, I think maybe he was trying to peel it into 2, maybe turn for an engagement. The interesting thing is just front line with JD should be good enough here, because the spears will all just attack her instead of bracing, so you get damage in. A nice charge there. There was no reaction. LucifroN was running. Leave afterwards. XP bar's looking good. I think we're seeing a 15-minute level 3 Jean. Wait, whoa. Hold on a moment. She takes on the whole army. But this is a sandwich. LucifroN is an overextension. There's no escaping this. Level 3 Jean in. LucifroN, no sign of a tech up. He's going to go for a raid with the Keshiks onto the Deer Gatherers in the meantime. So we'll at least punish Beasty a little. But that is now level 3 Jean. Melee form. Which for most is too much. And definitely for the Spaniard. Beasty. A clean, swift 3-0 stop.
Quite the contrast to our previous series here in terms of game lengths, right? I mean, Beasty, this was essentially a speedrun of this series at this point. Very decisive. Very clean execution.
And we're back on schedule. Woo! Gold flappers. I mean, it's
like
kind of crazy. I don't think I was really prepped for that. I thought LucifroN, like, we'd actually see him maybe take a game, some deep state games, but I'm Beasty. I mean, I guess all of the pub shenanigans did pay off. You'd think this guy being live 12 hours, I mean, there can't be much time to scrim. Or maybe it's a case of LucifroN not in his final form yet. We have to remember he recently came back towards the start of this year, so hasn't been as consistent as, obviously, Beasty. Even Vortex having a few extra months over his bro in terms of returning to AoE4.
Yeah, exactly. LucifroN, already still, despite this, happy with his performance, at least so far in the Elite Classic 3, right? Maybe not this series in particular. It always hurts going down 3-0, of course, but despite only being back recently, he's doing very, very well for himself, right? And I'm sure that will only get better and better the longer he stays.